going on, guys? Look at this. Got the wife out here cleaning her car. That's not a shop activity. So what we got tonight, I have a friend who knows that I just got a portable welder. He has a project that he needs done quickly. What it is he's got a well in his yard. There's a coupling on top of the drill pipe, but it's all rusted and corroded. So what we need to do is we need to go over and cut that off below the coupling, bevel it, and then take a new piece of pipe and weld it on so that he can mount a well pump and everything he needs to. So what we've got is, I'm over here at the pipe threader. I don't think this is something that I've used a whole lot on the channel. I did use it to bevel some pipe. So what we're going to do is, we've got some schedule 42-inch pipe here. I'm going to go ahead and use the pipe cutter here to square this off, and then we need to thread it, because what we've got to do is weld a 4-inch nipple on top of the pipe that's already there sticking out of the ground. There's about 18 inches sticking out of the ground. So we're going to go ahead, cut this off. After you cut it off, you take and chamfer the inside, okay? Then you take the threading head and you thread it. We'll go through all of this as I thread this piece of pipe, just to show you guys kind of how I do it. So let's get after it. Okay, here we go. Got my foot pedal here on the ground. That's what runs the machine. Okay, so after you get that cut off, you can see it does a pretty dang good job, but it does leave burr on the inside of the pipe. That's why you take this, and then I'll run the machine, take that burr off. Use your handle here. Goodness, that's music to my ears. Okay, so you can see it does a good job. Gets that burr off. Okay, so now we are ready to thread. You've got adjustments here. My machine's a little old. It's pretty well used, but you can see, hopefully you can see, there are some scribed marks here. So you got 2 inch, there's 3/4, half, 1.5 inches. So this head will cut from 1 inch to 2 inch. You loosen this and you can adjust the dies to whatever size you need to thread by this mark here. You slide that up and down. I'll run a test run. When I start out, typically you're going to have to be a little bit inside, a little bit smaller than the actual 2 inch mark, and you want to test it with a fitting. And what you're looking for is 3.5 turns. That's how far you want your fitting to go on before it starts getting tight. So 3.5 turns, hand tight. When it starts getting stiff at 3.5 turns, that's right where you want it. Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to fire up the machine. It's super loud, so I don't think you guys can even hear me. But just to explain what I'm doing, I'm going to fire up the machine. You want to flip this down because you want to make sure you got oil while you're threading, or you'll burn up your dies. So there's going to be oil shooting on the pipe, and then I'm going to use this and I'm going to start it. And once it's started and it's traveling down the pipe, the machine will take over and it will just thread itself, and you'll see this will start going around on its own. It's a little bit different for every size of pipe that you're threading. On this one, I'm going to go almost to the end of the threads here, and that's when I'm going to disengage this, which when I do that, watch the dies. So it moves the dies in and out. So that will disengage the dies. When I flip this up, then I'll be able to move this back out. And then we'll check it. So let's go to that point. Okay, so we got this all cleaned up here. The only 2-inch fitting I had was one of these end caps for conduit, but it is standard 2-inch thread, so I've marked one of the nubs on the ring right here. 1, 2, okay, it's starting to get tight. 3, and if you it's almost there, but we're actually bottoming out. But I can tell it's starting to get tight. So I think it's about perfect there. So I'm going to call that good. So now all I've got to do is I'm going to take and measure this out at 4 inches. I'm going to cut it off, and that's going to be our nipple for tomorrow that we're going to weld on the drill pipe on the well. So I'm going to cut this off, and just in case, I actually have a piece of drill pipe here. It is heavier wall. I'm worried that that is what's in the ground over there. It wouldn't matter, because I called my buddy that's in drilling, and I asked him if you could just use Schedule 40. He said yes, but I think just in case I'm going to make a 4-inch nipple out of drill pipe, I'll just cut it in the bandsaw, and then I'm going to bring it over here and I'm going to thread it, just in case, and I'll take it with me, and then if I need it, I need it, and if I don't, well, I'll just throw it back in the scrap pile. But I'd rather be prepared. So I'm going to cut this one off at 4 inches, and then the other thing I'm going to do, I'll show you guys, but I've got to get my portable welder all set up. All my leads and everything showed up, so I can get the leads all set up. So we got to get that set up tonight and ready to go. Okay, I got to get this measured. Okay, so we're over here at the lathe. We got our cutting tool in. We're going to cut this at a 30-degree bevel, and we're going to go ahead and knock that burr off on the inside. Okay, I went ahead and threw that back in the lathe. Used some emery cloth to clean that up. It was a lot quicker, did a better job. I did get the inside cleaned up as well, so that nipple's ready to go. One other thing I'm going to do, since I got all my tools drug out, I think I'm going to cut 2 more pieces of pipe, just a couple coupons. I'm going to go ahead and bevel them, clean them up, just like I'm going to do with the joint tomorrow. Once I get the welder set up, I want to run a test on it. I know that it runs good. I feel pretty good about it, but it's been a little while since I've stick welded some pipe. In my opinion, it's always good to go ahead and do a warm-up, do a practice, whatever you want to call it, and set a couple coupons up, go ahead and burn one, and just kind of warm up basically. So this joint we're going to be welding is in the 2G position, which is just vertical. So that's how I'm going to set up my coupons. I'm going to set them up in a 2G position. I'm going to go ahead and run a 60-10 root pass and then 70-18 over the top. So I'm going to go ahead and get those cut out, get them prepped up, and we got to start getting the welder put together. So let's go to that point. Okay, so here's what we got. I got the welder up on the table. Got some goodies here. I got 100 feet of flex whip and 100 feet of tough flex. Now, I know that this stuff is supposed to be better. It's just more bendy, it's more flexible. It's the good stuff. I'm going to use that for my stinger lead. The tough flex I'm going to use for my ground. This is, I think, $50 less than this. But it wasn't about the price. I think it'll come in handy to be able to have the ground black and your stinger orange. I just think it might be kind of handy. There's been times where I've drug my leads out a mile long. You get kind of tangled up and you want to know which one's which so you can get it untangled and run it a different route. So that's the reason that I decided to go that route. So I've also got a stinger here. So this is a 250 amp. I really like the Tweco stingers and the Tweco ground. The stinger's 250 amp and the ground is 300 amp. The size of cable I went with is 1/0. I have 2/0 on one of my other welders and it's just too dang heavy. I've got a buddy that uses #1, but I plan on doing some carbon arc gouging with this. So I looked at the chart and I think 1/0 is going to be about perfect for me. The other reason I decided to go with it is, I don't know if you guys watch IC Weld, but he's got a fantastic welding channel on YouTube, and he runs a Trailblazer. I actually messaged him on YouTube and asked him what size he used, and he said 1/0. I'm going to go with 1/0. We're going to go ahead and get these set up. I do have a pretty cool little tool that's going to get us rolling here, so I'll show you guys that right now. Just for now, I'm going to wire these up solid. I'm not going to do the quick connects for now, just because I'm getting this set up for a rush job. So I've got my connectors here. These connectors are for 1/0 wire, and they got a 1/2 inch hole. So these are going to fit perfect on the Trailblazer. Here's the cool thing. I got a buddy that works at a hardware store. He's actually one of the managers, and he turned me on to this. These are little solder plugs. So you buy the ring connector and then you actually melt the solder plug down into there. You heat it up with your torch, and I'm going to go ahead and flux up the inside of that. Okay, so then you drop your solder plug in, heat it up, and it'll melt. Then all you do is you take your cable, jam it in there, and he says it works really good. And we're going to go ahead and give it a try. I think it's always a good idea to flux whatever you're going to solder. I'm going to strip back some of the insulation here. So this is going to be the hard part, is we want to get this as tight as we can so that when we push it in we don't have the strands poking out. And I am going to flux this. Solder plug, dropping that in. Hopefully you guys can see that, but it's melted good. Guess not. Okay. So the problem I ran into that first time was the plug wasn't melted all the way. Okay, I think that turned out pretty good. We'll do a pull check on it after it cools down. So now let's do our ground lead. Okay, same thing. Go ahead and flux that. Flux our cable. Fire in the hole. It's kind of cool watching that melt. So there's flux down the center of that too. So I think the trick with this is to make sure you heat it up enough where you melt the whole plug. Okay, so I got that all cleaned up. Turned out really good. I can't pull that off for nothing, so I think we're good. It's pretty sweet. Check those out. Okay, so now we're going to put our stinger on, and we need an Allen wrench. Okay, so if you've never put one of these on, this first set screw clamps down on the cable. That's what holds it in there. This set screw is what locks the insulator on. We got to strip this end of the cable, put it in here, tighten it down, put it back together. I always like to get a measurement when I'm putting this together so that I don't have bare wire hanging out so that it can arc on something. I mean, obviously this has an insulator, but that goes with everything you're wiring. You don't want any extra exposed wire hanging out so it can arc on something. And this you want to be probably about as tight as you can get it. Oh, I do love doing stuff twice, and I am good at it. Make sure you slide that down your cable first. Okay, ready to burn. Okay, now we got to do the ground. on this type of ground, you just run your cable up through here. Same principle, you tighten this bolt down onto the cable and it just kind of smashes it down, and then I like to crimp this down to where it's tight around the cable, and that's it. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea. Take the cable, and you could solder it. If you put some solder in it, that makes it hard, and it would lock down on the cable a little better, I think, but we're going to try it without first and just see how it holds up. I told you guys I like to do stuff twice, so. So I got to grab a wrench for this. I like to crank them down because I don't like them coming off. And that copper's pretty soft, so when you crank it down, it kind of smashes it together. So then I'll take and pinch this together. What's going on, guys? We're back out here today. We're just going to start getting everything loaded up so we can go over there and weld that piece of pipe on. We're going to get everything loaded up. We'll get the leads hooked up to the welder. I am going to hurry and run a warm-up pass on some coupons, so let's do it. So it's kind of cool, they make these little holes that you can run the leads through. And I actually bought a lead reel. It's over there in a box, but I'm not going to be able to use that until I get the trailer built, so. We are going to pull this outside and then do our test run. And that's for two purposes, right? We're going to run a test pass on some coupons just so that we can warm up. It's been a while since I've stick welded pipe. The other reason is this will actually be the first time I've ran this welder since I've had it, so I'm kind of excited to see how it runs anyway. I trust the guy that I bought it from, but you know, it's more for me than anything, so. Okay, so we got our Trailblazer running here. We got our leads all strung out in the shop. I'm running this on 80 amps. We're going to run this practice test the exact same way we're going to run this pipe on the job we're about to go to. So I'm going to run a 332 6010 route, and I'm running at 80 amps. I'm going to go ahead and tack it first. Okay, so I got a piece of angle in the vise here. I'm going to put my two pieces of pipe in here, and that gets them perfectly centered. Then I'm going to take my pipe spacer. This is 332 TIG rod. I'm going to slip it in between them, and I'm going to go ahead and tack this. Okay, so again, I'm going to put 4 tacks on it. All these ugly marks on it were because I used angle that had paint on it, so I fought it the first time, but it's good, it's just a practice. So I'm going to put 2 more tacks on it. Okay, so I got 4 tacks on it. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and put this in the vise. If I was doing a test, I'd put it a little higher so I was more comfortable. I could rest my elbow. This job we're going to go do, it's a pipe sticking out of the ground 18 inches, so it's going to be uncomfortable anyway. So I'm just going to leave it short like this. That'll help me warm up with a similar uncomfortable situation. So I'm going to hit these tacks with a grinder and feather them out. So that way when I go over them, it's gonna burn right through and it should give me a good root. Okay, so this tack right here is what you want your feathered tacks to look like. You can see I've hit each side. It's super thin, but it's just enough to hold the pipe where it needs to be. So that's what feathering my tacks means. Okay, so now I'm going to take my 60-10 and I'm going to try to get from here all the way around to here, and then I'll have to come to the other side, do the same thing. But I want to get as far as I can with one start and stop. Okay, so I kept having problems burning through on that one. I've cut 2 new coupons and beveled them, 30-degree bevel, and I'm gonna do a different size gap. I'm going with 16th gap on these, and we're gonna try it again. I think this is gonna be perfect. Okay, tacks are feathered. I'm going to grab a new rod so I can burn a little longer. Let's try this again. Okay, so we finally got this dialed in. You can see I've had a hell of a time getting this dialed in, but I did finally get it dialed in. So okay, so here you can see I took my soapstone and a pipe wrap, marked the pipe where I wanted to cut. Then I grabbed a cutoff wheel and cut the coupling off that you see there. This was the reason we had to come do this repair. That coupling was completely seized on there and rusted out. So once I got it cut off, I grabbed a buffing disc and buffed the coating on the pipe off. Once that was done, I started putting my bevel on the pipe there. Once that was complete, I grabbed my die grinder, cleaned up the inside, then I grabbed the nipple and a piece of 1/16 TIG rod, used that for my gapping tool, and tacked the nipple on. I did check it with a level to make sure it was plumb. So I'm not sure what happened here. I think Bridger was daydreaming about girls or something, because I didn't get any footage of the root pass. Everything you're seeing here is the final pass with 7018. I was very happy with how the welder ran. It's got a very crisp start. You can see here that I had to change positions multiple times to get this weld done. And I don't know about you guys, but I could listen to this sound all day long. For some reason, I just find this very soothing. So once the weld was complete, I grabbed a wire wheel, went ahead and cleaned up the whole weld. And then I inspected it to make sure there was no areas of concern. I was happy with how it turned out. I did want to look at the inside. I was just curious, so we did inspect the inside of the pipe, and the root looked good. Okay, so we just got back from welding up the pipe on the well. Now we got some tools to unload, so still got some work to do, but we did get the piping done. Turned out good. I think the customer was happy, so we're gonna get this cleaned up, go in the house and eat some dinner. So it's gonna wrap it up. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like, subscribe, and share. Make sure to hit the bell so you get notified when we post a new video, and we'll see you on the next one. Alright, we got a special project tonight. I feel like I say that a lot. They're all special. Move your fingers.
I'm not in the way. Anymore.
This is what I'm doing. People don't want to look at me. Running this on 80 amps.
It doesn't show up on the camera.
And we got her done.
Son.
Fun.
No, don't hit that in. Can you do that?